Hi, I'm Melinda Clem, Vice President of Strategy for Affiliates, co-founder of the Dynamic Coalition for DNS Issues, and co-chair of IGF USA. I'm really excited to be a part of the NetThing 2020 event this year and to talk to you about the importance of Internet governance. I'm going to share some insights from our IGF USA event held online in July as they relate to the NetThing 2020 program. Well, it's very important for our NRIs to discuss local issues and issues of regional importance. It's equally important for us to discuss common themes and to share them within the IGF community. So I've organized my thoughts here today in three realms of Internet governance: policy, strategy, and vision. But first, I want to provide a little bit of context about the IGF USA event. We made our decision to move to a virtual format early in the planning process, leaving us about 4 months to prepare, adapt, and truly customize for an online experience. Deciding on the tool, we used Zoom and had a companion live stream, was probably the easiest part of the process. And we found that with some specific technical and human protocols employed during the event, that it provided a safe and secure environment for our participants. To provide a truly collaborative experience during our event, we decided to move from 1 day to 2-day format and not have any concurrent sessions. We also decided to have an open chat, which was a great way to interact with participants. It fostered a very rich discussion and allowed the panelists to take direct questions. We also had networking rooms set up between our formal sessions to allow for informal chats and follow-up from the previous session. We closed the event with a cocktail reception with themed drinks and a professional mixologist showing us the proper way to make our cocktails. Something for us all to consider was one of the benefits that we found of moving online: the ability to have more participants and panelists, individuals who otherwise might not have been able to travel to Washington, D.C., where we host our event in person. This reinforces the need for us to have interactive remote participation going forward. All of this was positively received, and we had a really vibrant event with over 2,100 attendees and viewers, showing, as you found yourself here, it's possible to make virtual lemonade. As we discuss these logistics, I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to applaud the flexibility and graciousness of the government of Poland. They are supporting both the virtual event next month as well as hoping a physical event, knock on wood, in Katowice in the fourth quarter of 2021. We should also give a big thanks to the IGF Secretariat for their efforts in supporting this move, as well as facilitating the conversation between NRIs so that we can learn from one another and all navigate this new terrain. Thank you both. Let's start with the first dynamic of Internet governance: policy, which I'm using generically to cover formal policy and regulation, as well as norms and best practices. At IGF and many NRIs, a lot of the discussion is on policy. This year's programming is no different, but it is special. And not simply because we've persevered and we're still organizing and producing events. It's special because we've addressed our shared circumstances of isolating and social distancing and a heavily reliance on the internet, and we're using that to drive our programs. For some, the working of internet governance, policies, and norms is abstract. While our community is intimately aware of how the regulatory environment and best practices and norms are the foundation of the internet, and that it's critical to the operation both during and after the pandemic, many people don't understand this. In our programming this year, I'm finding that we're all using the pandemic to address this lack of understanding. We're taking these sometimes abstract concepts and showing exactly how they impact our daily life. I think this has been a useful shift and a model that we should adopt going forward, making these very clear, very strong connections between internet governance and the use of the internet for everyone. The NetThing programming, the IGF agenda, and IGF USA all have strong policy discussions. Some of the things that we discussed in July included, first, encryption. We hosted a structured debate with a moderator and 2 speakers on each side of the resolution. Result: the government should require ISPs and apps to enable lawful access to data in transit that is protected today with end-to-end encryption. This debate explored the perils of any break to encryption, alternatives for providing lawful access to data, and the potential issues around any delay in law enforcement getting the data they need. We also discussed content moderation. We had a vibrant panel and chat discussion about whether online platforms and intermediaries should be accountable for user-created content. This also included a specific discussion around proposed US legislation. This touched on misinformation and disinformation, political speech, and other types of speech, also being discussed here at NetThing 2020. Data privacy was also on the agenda. We had a review of privacy law and how some laws were modified to meet the immediate healthcare needs of Americans. For example, things that allowed for telemedicine and sharing data across legal jurisdictions. We also covered the privacy implications of contact tracing apps for COVID-19. Ethics and the use of AI. We had experts in the development of machine learning sharing how it is they're managing these massive lakes of data that they're amassing, the impact of AI and MI on business and end users, and their myriad ethical considerations. I'm excited to hear your outputs on these similar topics from NetThing 2020 next month. Strategy. Strategy comprises the framework of internet governance and how we use it in the community in this context. The foundation of IG strategy, of course, is the multi-stakeholder model that relies on the diverse network of people contributing. The COVID-19 pandemic has made this discussion even more important, and the underlying theme here is access. At the heart of everything is how do we get internet access? At IGF USA, we considered this in a few ways. Through education, we had this thoughtful look at the impact of the pandemic on the education sector and the challenges of remote learning. This included the amplification of the digital divide and the lack of reliable and affordable internet access. This is not unique to the United States. It's something that plagues many countries and that we collectively need to work to improve. Next-gen connectivity. The Federal Communications Commissioner, Chairman Ajit Pai, gave us an update on 5G wireless in the context of international security standards, our national security interests, access to open networks, and their impact on the Internet of Things. We also discussed the future of IG. We closed our program with a session discussing what the pandemic foretells about the future of internet governance, our priorities, the actors, and the governance model itself. This included how we should balance a rapid response to immediate and urgent needs without sacrificing the multi-stakeholder process, what we learned from both within the United States and how we take learnings from other countries, and what that suggests in terms of the governance structure in general. We also kept ourselves grounded. Any discussion of strategy needs to be introspective. We need to objectively ask what's working, what isn't, what can or should be changed. We did this in a very opening session at IGF USA by addressing the question, did American internet companies respond to the needs of Americans during the pandemic? This panel included a senior state-level elected government official, the president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, large tech companies, and the man who's responsible for a pretty good chunk of the internet, Vint Cerf. I encourage other NRIs to ask these types of hard questions as a means of measuring our progress and identifying challenges and opportunities. At the NRI main session next month, we'll also be providing more details on what we learned in these sessions, and I promise we'll soon have all of our session reports available online. My outlook and vision for internet governance, both within Australia, the United States, and across the globe, is positive, but it is thoroughly rooted in our very grim current reality. We must use the COVID-19 pandemic as a warning and a catalyst. So many sustainable development goals are tied to having secure, cost-effective, reliable internet access. While this is known and articulated by many within the UN and our community, I want to see everyone in the community acknowledge this. I want to see universal agreement that we will continue to work to create one safe and open internet and use it to achieve more sustainable development goals. I also want us to work very hard and agree that we won't let the pandemic hinder the progress that we've made to date. We can't backslide. I'm optimistic that we can do this because we've done it, because we continue to show up every day. Whether you're operating the core of the internet infrastructure, telecommunications backbone, or you're in the private sector, the public sector, academia, we've all persevered and continue to do what we can to make this one internet safe and available. And we also continue to participate in venues like this. Success in defining norms and best practices and policy, to advancing the SDGs and expanding the IG community is hard and necessary work. And the work of NRIs in particular is critical, which is why Affilius supports the NRIs of Australia and the United States, among others. It's why we encourage people and businesses to join their NRIs and support the IGF. At Affilius, we see two benefits that I want to share with you, and in turn you can share with others to encourage them to join. First, supporting the IGF helps us achieve our mission of providing secure, stable, and reliable internet services. The way the internet operates and is managed is bigger than any single country, company, application, or line of code. We have a responsibility to think beyond our immediate role and to share our knowledge and experience across the world. We fully endorse the multi-stakeholder model of internet governance and see the IGF as the ideal forum to help define our one secure internet. As a commercial entity, I also find this very humbling. It gives me a chance to hear directly how the work we do to maintain a stable internet infrastructure impacts the SDGs. This connection to outcomes, things that are typically steps removed from our business model, are things that I can take back to our team and really serve as a daily inspiration to all of us. I encourage you to do the same. Second, and with respect to NRIs specifically, as a multinational company, we understand the unique distinctions of operating across the world while respecting local laws, customs, and strategic country objectives. Affilius is supportive of multiple NRIs to help advance these local and regional goals. I was honored to assume a leadership role in IGF USA at the beginning of 2019 and am extremely proud of the work we've done, the growth and diversity in our participant base, and the success of our meetings. NRIs provide such an important path to realizing and maximizing the advantages of the internet at a local level. So I hope this has been useful to you in gaining an understanding of the commonality of themes across our NRIs. There is an incredible and inspiring lineup of speakers at NetThing 2020, and I think so much can be learned from them and used to drive action within the community. I'm anxious to follow along and to see your outcomes and hear about how you're sharing them with the community. I send you my best wishes for a successful event and look forward to collaborating with all of you next month at our annual IGF event.